Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 5:19 a.m. East Coast time, Tuesday, August 27th. Hope your week is off to a good start. Uploading and just uploaded the running backs video for the NFL Week 4 preseason game. Covered a lot about the running backs. Gonna kind of finish that up on Thursday in an overarching video, but you can check that out. But right here we have a full 15-game MLB slate. Yesterday went really well. In the Patreon exclusive podcast, we talked about how the Cardinals were a top 2 interest in terms of stacking for me, and the A's were a fade. Fade due to the matchup in terms of the pitcher not giving up much power. That went out the window. Mini stacks were obviously applicable. Chris Davis's and guys like that who were just too cheap for their price point. But the fade didn't really hurt us too much because we still got to the pitchers that we wanted to get to in terms of a Beatty, a Sonny Gray, even whoever it might have been. And then also, the Cardinals came through at lower ownership than Oakland, still able to crack in the $88, still able to crack the top 25, which was good. And I was like, a decent game away from Austin Nola hits a double dong, we're winning it all. Austin Nola hits one home run, we're in the top 5. But yeah, that's went to bed, was hoping to wake up to something, didn't, but we woke up to something, not just the bank, right? But yeah, yesterday went well, hopefully it went well for everybody else who's on Patreon. The podcast was actually free yesterday for anybody, so you could have checked that out. Will not be today though. So 15-game slate, lots of guys on this slate, right? Naturally, by 30 teams playing. Lots of great spots that I imagine are going to garner ownership. I'm going to go through it. There are 5 guys who stand out to me. Well, there's 7 guys who stand out to me, but I'm going to tell you why. I'm just going to kind of focus around 5, and then I'm going to tell you why. I'm probably going to shift back to that 7 when the ownership numbers start to come in from some of these sites that I use. So, with that said, welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Sal Vetri. I do cover daily fantasy sports in the NFL, NBA, WNBA, and the MLB streets, like right here where we are. So if you get any value from this video, if you could hit the subscribe button, I appreciate that. We are about 300 and change away from 7,000 subscribers. My goal was to get to that by the start of the NFL season, which week 1 officially starts a week from yesterday, if we want to count that, Monday, even though the games doesn't start till Thursday, but that's the first week I will be covering regular season NFL. So if you could hit the subscribe button, I appreciate that. The like button, the thumbs up helps a little bit, but really the subscribe and notification bell. I will be going live Thursday for that NFL slate at 5:30 p.m. You'll get a notification. Down below in the description, check out anything you want down below. There's 2 free strategy guides for DFS. There's my course on how to kind of make and build your bankroll in DFS, NFL DFS, and make money doing it. Everything I know, building these stat sheets that you see right here. Ownership projections, how to calculate that, how to kind of grasp ownership and be contrarian. It's 5.5 hours and a bunch of downloadable files, Excel files. So check that out if you're interested, as well as my Patreon exclusive podcast for the MLB, like we talked about yesterday. That's linked down below as well. So you can check all that out. Appreciate you tuning in. Housekeeping's out of the way. Hit the subscribe button and let's get into this video. So 7 guys I was talking about. The 2 that I'm not going to focus too much on right now, Justin Verlander and Patrick Corbin. Clearly great options, right? But the price points relative to some other guys on the slate in also really good spots don't add up for me. $12,000 on Justin Verlander against Tampa. Yes, due to Justin Verlander, Tampa is going to be a 3.2 implied run total. And I'll probably have more interest in Verlander as the day goes on because I imagine people are going to gravitate off his $12,000 price tag and go down to guys who are $2,000 to $3,000 less expensive, which makes a lot of sense. So Verlander, I'm not going to break him down too much. You know who Verlander is. He does have a favorable matchup against Tampa Bay, the 3.2 implied run total right now, the lowest. We're still waiting on 4 teams, 2 games run totals to come out. But yeah, it's just Justin Verlander. I'm not sure why his K percentages or all these K percentages are kind of they're dividing in half because it's a percentage. So if I take this out of percentage format and just put it to straight plain text, we are going to get all of that. So let's actually do this now. You're getting this live action here. Okay, so it's putting it as a decimal for right now. That's fine. If we put this as a decimal, we'll get the same thing that we want to get in terms of overall strikeout numbers. So let's just put this as a decimal. And all right, we'll figure it out. We'll do it after this. I just have to convert that from a decimal place back into a normal number because all of these numbers are only popping up with half. So that'll all be updated in like 5 seconds after this video. But anyways, yeah, I mean, he strikes out 38% from the left side, 31.5% from the right side. The guy's just dominant, goes the deepest into the game, 6 2/3 innings pitched per start. Good run total against him. He's $23,100 on FantasyDraft. FantasyDraft is the logo up above. They have rake-free contests. You can check them out. If you want to check them out for rake-free contests, they have a $20,000 free roll for Thursday, just free to enter up to 5 times. If you click the link in the description for FantasyDraft, it actually helps me out. So if you are going to do that and you can click that, I appreciate it. So yeah, Verlander is a clear good play today, if indeed you can afford him, and if indeed you can get off with some of the cheaper guys who are also clear good plays today. So we're not going to break him down too much right now. We'll save that for the podcast based on ownership numbers. Similar things can be said for Patrick Corbin. Baltimore also has a really low implied total. I think it's like 3.4 today. Yeah, they're at 3.4 implied run total. And the thing that I like about the A's or the Rays is that the Rays opened at 3.8 against Verlander, and they jumped all the way down to 3.2. That's a huge drop overnight. Like at the opening line, a bunch of sharps came in and said Verlander's pitching against the Rays, and it's a 3.8 implied run total. Yeah, that's a big miss. So you're probably getting Verlander based on the fact that he came in priced at a 3.8 implied run total. Now that he's at 3.2, you're honestly probably getting him at like $500 underpriced, if not more, built in automatically. So huge discount already on Verlander just due to the fact that the run total went down by 0.6 points, right? Went down by like 20 or 15% already. So keep that in mind. I'm going to have interest in Verlander later today, depending on ownership. Same can be said for Patrick Corbin. I won't break down too much into him, but he's the biggest favorite on the slate right now, minus 350. The dude's just dynamite. He's been really, really consistent all year. A 1 home run per 9, very good. 48.2% ground ball rate is good. Strikes out 38% of lefties. Overall, that's going to be pretty helpful against Baltimore. If Chances goes back, if he's in the lineup, if Chris Davis, they put him in the lineup. I don't know if they go there, but they'll probably be 3 to 4 lefties, including switch hitters. If they opt to kind of have no lefties in the lineup, which would make more sense because he gives up no power and he strikes them out a ton, well, then it's a much worse matchup for Corbin, who jumps to a 25.6% strikeout rate, which is still fine, and a 157 ISO, which is still fine, just nowhere near as elite for the $11,200 tag you would price him at. But against lefties this year, Baltimore strikes out 25.8% of the time. That's the most in the league. So you're getting Patrick Corbin, a very elite lefty, indicated by a lot of things: the run total, his Vegas line, his strikeout rate, his Sierra, all this stuff against a team that is the number 1 strikeout team in the league versus lefties. So yes, there will also be more interest for Patrick Corbin later in the day. I'm imagining later today, nobody's going to have ownership on Lucas Giolito, most likely not a ton on Verlander, probably some, and most likely not a ton at all on Patrick Corbin. Giolito coming off of, in this exact same spot, a complete game shutout. Or maybe not a shutout, but he had a complete game. So now to the guys who I have the most interest in, but I imagine I start to pivot if ownership numbers get too high. First guy, Luis Castillo at $10,000 flat. This is how good this slate is. I mean, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys above $10,000 today, and 4 of them are above $11,000. That's just ridiculous. So Luis Castillo at $10,000 against Miami, who also has a 3.2 implied run total, who is also Miami, who strikes out 25.3% of the time, who has a combined ISO on the year of a 126 since June 15th, a 137 against righties, second lowest in the league. Team that's terrible. Luis Castillo, a guy who gives up no power but also strikes you out. So not only does he have a 54.6% ground ball rate, which is the virtual tie for the highest on the slate with Adrian Hauser, he also comes in here and he'll be knocking you out with a strikeout rate of 30% against lefties. That doesn't help you too much against Miami, but okay, you don't have that. Well, 26.9 against righties is still pretty elite, pretty good number. Maybe not elite, but really good number, approaching 27%. Gives up no power. This is the big one. 168 ISO to lefties. That's below average. That's good. 106 ISO to righties. That's well below average. That's very good. So you're getting Luis Castillo, a guy who you're going to put a guy who doesn't give up home runs, who gets a ton of ground balls, who strikes out guys and gives up no power to righties in a ballpark that is just going to suppress all the power in the world against a team that has no power. Yeah, Luis Castillo, similar to Sonny Gray yesterday, is probably the best play on the slate at that price point. But keep in mind, that's for cash. If indeed his ownership just spikes to ridiculous amounts, for $2,000 more, Verlander is there, who will probably be a natural pivot in the 5-figure range. Maybe not a natural pivot, but a pivot you can put in there in the 5-figure range to make your lineup different. But for right now, a guy who goes pretty much 6 innings pitch per start in this matchup, it seems very difficult for me and probably all of you to get away from Castillo. So I'm imagining higher ownership. Second guy I have main interest in, aside from Castillo, is Caleb Smith, $9,000. This guy's way too cheap too. So you're getting Cincinnati, who I believe also has a run total that's dropping, which is really good. So Cincinnati opened at a 4.1 implied run total. They're down to 3.9, so they've already dropped. Vegas has already come in and said, you know what, Caleb Smith, yeah, I like him against Cincinnati. That run total is too high. So I do like to see that. So Caleb Smith, you do like to see it. Caleb Smith at $9,000. He's probably underpriced since the run total's already dropped by like 300 to 400. Not a major thing, but also good to take advantage of. The problems with Caleb Smith will be what they always are: power to righties, and there's going to be powerful righties in the Cincinnati lineup. He only has a 28% ground ball rate. His ground ball rate is the lowest on the slate. That's not great. He strikes out a lot of guys, right? 25% of lefties, 30% of righties, but just gets smashed by righties. A 236 ISO against righties. That's top 5 on the slate. That's not great. Walks 9% of guys. A lot of that power to righties is turning into home runs to righties. 1.76 home runs per night. So he has a lot of upside in terms of his strikeout rate, in terms of his ability to work into the games. He has a lot of downsides, and also the run total against him now being from 4.1 to 3.9 is very good, below 4. The downsides for him are that he just gives up too much power. At $9,000, I'm fine if Caleb Smith gives up a solo or a 2-run home run here because he can bounce back from it. Pairing him with Luis Castillo for 19,000 seems like a good spot to get a lot of upside in your pitching. Seems like a spot I imagine some people go to. I probably don't. I prefer Castillo right now. But Caleb Smith, the downsides are clearly there. The upsides are clearly there. It's a matter of what you want to do. I want to see what the final Cincinnati lineup is. If they have more righties in the lineup, that's good from a strikeout perspective, but bad from an overall limiting power perspective. So I hope it's sort of a balanced lineup here today. Suarez homered yesterday. That's not great. Well, not the home run yesterday. It doesn't really matter for today. I'm just saying that's not a great spot for Caleb Smith in this lineup. He'll probably be a really good option today as a one-off. Third interest in, not much interest here. Like, look, my interests are, I'm going very cheap today with one of my pitchers, most likely, at least on first look. And then I'm either going to get to a Castillo or a Smith as my SP1, or just pay all the way up for a Verlander or a Corbin based on ownership. Like, if Verlander is going to come in at 5%, and that's going to be way too low. Like, he's going to come in higher than that. But if he comes in at 5% on a 15-game slate, maybe he does, and you're going to hit Luis Castillo coming in at 25%, then it's pretty obvious to me that I'm going to go to Verlander for 20% less ownership. Similar things can be said for Patrick Corbin if the ownership gap is that different. So yeah, you can ask me down below if you have any interest in terms of where to get proper ownership projections. I can point you in the right direction. Ask me in the comments. You could also reach out to me on Twitter. Lots of people usually do, and I give you the steps to kind of figure out the sites that are right. You can make your decision from there, but I give you the ones that I use and I have trust in and faith in. But third interest is Tanaka in the $7,500 range. I'm going to be completely honest. I probably don't get here. I probably don't hover around the $7,500 range. But his matchup against Seattle is really good for a pitcher who is kind of all over the place in terms of his season. Strikeout rate is totally down, 17% against lefties, 21.5% against righties. But the matchup today is going to yield a very high strikeout upside. So 27.1%. Strikeout rate is second and third. Detroit and Chicago White Sox are tied for the highest at 27.4. But then he's virtually tied with them for the highest strikeout rate is the Seattle Mariners team against righties. Now, my concerns are the price point's okay on him, but people are going to keep saying that Tanaka's underpriced. He's not underpriced. 7,500 is the pitcher that Tanaka is this year. If anything, he should probably be like 7,300. He's been terrible. He's been dog shit. He's had 2 good games all year long. He has no strikeout stuff. He gives up all the power in the world to both sides of the plate. Maybe not so much lefties, but gives up power. Right side of the plate, yes. So the upsides for Tanaka here. 1, the price tag is easily fitting. You could easily fit that in as your SP2 or risk it all and go SP1. But the other upsides are that this is a team that strikes out a lot, and you're going to get a Seattle team that's going to roster probably like 6 lefties today, and he gives up much less power to lefties. The downsides for Tanaka is he strikes out much less lefties as well, 4.5% less, but again, not any power to lefties. So in the mid-range, he's the guy I get to. Michael Pineda is going to be sitting there. I see Michael Pineda sitting there at 7,800 against the White Sox, who are a very bad team. I'm going to tell you why I don't have interest in him. The White Sox opened as a 4 implied run total. They're now up to 4.4. So I don't have any interest in Michael Pineda. What that tells me is that the run total's already come up 0.4 in the few hours that it's been out. It's probably going to continue to come up, which means to me that Michael Pineda is just overpriced. If you tell me that the White Sox opened up as a 4.5 implied run total team instead of a 4, Pineda would be like 7,000 instead of 7,800 or 7,200. So not getting to Pineda. So right now my interests are Castillo, Caleb Smith, and Tanaka. We'll talk about Verlander and Patrick Corbin later on the podcast. And to finish it off, 2 guys in the 5K or below range. I don't know what DraftKings is doing with Adrian Hauser. This man's price is just absolutely broken. I don't understand it. Like, I really don't. Adrian Hauser, a guy who maybe he doesn't work as deep into the games, but he has been as of late. I want to see, once again, what St. Louis's run total is. Yeah, I don't get this. St. Louis's run total went from 4.3 to 4.1, so a very low implied run total so far today. I have no real interest in an Adrian Hauser, or I have no real interest in getting to a Cardinals team today, but Adrian Hauser is just fantastic at that price point. $5,000, a 3.9 implied run, or 3.9 Sierra is one of the better ones. If you go based off of just Sierra, he'd be a 9,000 plus pitcher. Obviously, we can't do that, but 54.9% ground ball rate, highest on the slate. 24.6% fly ball rate is the second lowest on the slate, only to Mike Soroka. So you're getting a guy who doesn't give up any fly balls, doesn't give up a lot of power, doesn't give up a lot of hard hit percentage, and then he comes in here at $5,000 flat, strikes out 25% of lefties, strikes out 24% of righties, overall 24.5% strikeout rate this year. What am I missing? Why are you $5,000 flat, Adrian Hauser? Why are you not in the upper 6 to 7K range? I would prefer Adrian Hauser to every single player in the 6 and 7K range, and potentially even the 8K range based on a point per dollar basis, and even maybe a projected point basis for a lot of them. Adrian Hauser is going to garner a ton of ownership today. You get St. Louis, who is fully healthy, and we saw yesterday St. Louis drop double-digit runs, but that's not today. Adrian Hauser is a guy who gives up absolutely no power to righties. St. Louis will have Matt Carpenter, Dexter Fowler from the left side of the plate, and maybe some other switch hitters at the top, like a Tommy Edmonds, but for the most part, their power is their righties. Their power is Yadier Molina. Their power is Paul DeJean, Paul Goldschmidt, and Marcell Ozuna. So gives up no power to righties, gives up no power overall, gets a ton of ground balls, and has strikeout upside. $5,000, Adrian Hauser seems like the guy who's going to garner all the ownership today, and he should. The pivot off of Adrian Hauser is just to go all the way down $4,000 to Mike Montgomery. We had 5 days ago these same two pitchers on the slate in a very similar situation. One was in the 5K, one was in the 4K range, whatever it was, or one was in the 6, one was in the 5. I don't like that they're always on the same slate. Mike Montgomery, I'd much rather not get to, but if you need the extra 1,000 and you want to pivot off of the high ownership for another guy in this range, I prefer Mike Montgomery. Just go to the bottom. Oakland does have a high implied run total, the 4th highest on the slate of 5.8, compared to St. Louis's 4.1 against Hauser. Hauser is the better pitcher in my opinion, but Montgomery, 46% ground ball rate, 25% fly ball rate. That's a good ratio. Doesn't strike anybody out though. 13% of lefties, 19.5% of righties. You're getting Oakland team with a high implied run total. What you're doing there is just saying, I'm just punting. I'm punting pitcher. I'm going $4,000 for Montgomery. I'm going to get Justin Verlander at $12,000, spend $16,000 on pitching, and go from there. I'm telling you right now, Adrian Hauser is a much better play, and probably due to the 15-game slate, his ownership will not be as high as it should. So just to recap. The 7 overall pitchers that I have interest in are Verlander, Patrick Corbin, Luis Castillo, Caleb Smith, Masahiro Tanaka, Adrian Hauser, and Mike Montgomery. The ones that I'm probably going to be getting to the most, just because it's a 15-game slate. Like, even if I don't expect ownership to be too crazy because it's a 15-game slate and 30 pitchers are going to garner ownership in some capacity. If this was a 7 or 8-game slate, then yeah, pivoting makes a lot more sense. But I think you don't have to pivot as abruptly because the ownership numbers won't get as high as they should. So the most interest for me is going to come in on guys like Luis Castillo, Caleb Smith, and Adrian Hauser. And then I think Tanaka, if you are somebody who gets to the mid-range often, is your best bet there. I probably don't get there. And if you are somebody who doesn't trust in Adrian Hauser or just wants to punt and get the extra $1,000 so you have more on hitting, Mike Montgomery is okay then, because you can always trust a $4,000 pitcher. Not trust, that's a bad word. You can always feel good in terms of not caring what that pitcher does. Like if Mike Montgomery goes out there at $4,000 and gets you 8 points, your lineup's not buried, right? If Adrian Hauser goes out there at $5,000 and gets you 8 points, your lineup's not buried, but you would much rather get that from the guys $1,000 cheaper. There's just less risk when you're paying for a bad pitcher at minimum price than when you're paying for a bad pitcher at $7,500 like Tanaka, right? Clearly not as bad of a pitcher, but just trying to give you an example. So as I'm at right now on this huge slate, check out Fantasy Draft if you want for a rig-free contest. You can check out their $20,000 free roll on Thursday. Link is down below in the description. My name's Sal. Hit that subscribe button. You already know my name. Peace out, gang.
Hey, hold up. 1 second. Check out this page. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button, all right? And if you're interested in Patreon, if you're not already a patron, you can hit that button on Patreon, become a patron. It will take you right there. You can also check me out on Twitter at Mlb Dfs. And hey, if you're interested, this next video that's about to pop up, why don't you check it out as well. See ya.